You know what's kind of terrifying? Getting robbed by someone who never even touches your crypto.
Welcome to Infinite State. I'm Ben.
And I'm Sarah. So Ben, imagine this. You check your wallet one morning and see a random deposit. It's tiny, like fractions of a cent. You probably just ignore it, right?
Most people do. And that's exactly what the attacker wants.
Because that tiny deposit, it's not a gift, it's a tracker. And today we're talking about dusting attacks, one of crypto's quietest threats that most people have never even heard of.
The fascinating thing about dusting attacks is they flip the script on what people think crypto security means. Everyone obsesses over private keys and seed phrases, but this attack doesn't need access to either. It exploits something people forget about: blockchain transparency.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. What exactly is crypto dust?
Dust is just tiny amounts of cryptocurrency that are essentially unspendable. On Bitcoin, for example, we're talking about amounts smaller than 546 satoshis. That's about 40 cents at current prices. These fragments naturally accumulate in wallets from normal transactions, kind of like pocket change. But in a dusting attack, someone deliberately sends you this dust.
And why would they do that?
To track you. See, when you eventually spend that dust, say you're consolidating funds or making a larger transaction, your wallet might automatically include it as an input. Once you do that, the attacker can start linking your wallet addresses together.
So they're basically slipping a marked bill into your wallet, hoping you spend it with your other money.
That's actually a perfect analogy. And once you spend that marked bill, they can trace where it goes, who you're transacting with, and start building a map of your entire wallet ecosystem.
Which sounds creepy, but what can they actually do with that information?
That's where it gets serious. If they can link enough of your addresses together and connect them to your identity, maybe through a KYC exchange or some other data point, suddenly they know how much crypto you hold. And if it's a lot, you become a target for phishing attacks, social engineering, or in extreme cases, physical threats, like kidnapping for ransom.
Wait, that's happened?
It's rare, but yes, there have been cases where people with significant holdings in certain regions have been physically targeted. More commonly, though, attackers use this information for sophisticated phishing campaigns. They might send you an email that references specific transactions you've made, making it look legitimate.
So this is really about de-anonymization, connecting the pseudonymous wallet address to an actual person.
Exactly. People think crypto is anonymous, but it's really pseudonymous. Your address is like a username. It doesn't reveal who you are, but every transaction is public. Dusting attacks are a method to connect those dots.
How widespread is this? Are we talking about isolated incidents, or is this happening at scale?
It happens at scale. One of the earliest documented mass dusting events was on Litecoin back in 2018. Thousands of addresses received these tiny amounts simultaneously. The cost can add up for attackers because they still have to pay network fees for each transaction. But for sophisticated operations targeting high-value individuals, it's worth the investment.
What about on different blockchains? Does this work the same way across Bitcoin, Ethereum, all of them?
The mechanics vary. It's most effective on UTXO-based chains like Bitcoin and Litecoin because of how transactions work there. Think of UTXOs as individual bills in a physical wallet. When you make a transaction, you're selecting specific bills to spend. On account-based chains like Ethereum, the attack plays out differently. Attackers might send fake tokens with embedded phishing links in the transaction memo, hoping you'll click and interact with a malicious smart contract.
So it's evolved beyond just tracking.
Right. On Ethereum especially, we've seen fake tokens that look like legitimate airdrops, something like UniV2 that appears valuable. Users try to trade it or interact with it, and boom, they've just approved a contract that drains their wallet.
That's a different beast entirely. So what should people actually do if they notice dust in their wallet?
First rule, don't spend it. Many modern wallets now have a feature called coin control that lets you mark specific UTXOs as not to spend. Some wallets will even flag suspicious small deposits automatically. The key is never consolidating that dust with your real funds.
But most people don't even know to look for this stuff.
That's the problem. The amounts are so small, they're easy to miss. But if you're serious about privacy, you should regularly check your transaction history for unexpected micro deposits. Anything you didn't initiate is worth investigating.
What about wallet features that help prevent this? You mentioned coin control. What else is out there?
Hierarchical deterministic wallets, or HD wallets, generate a new address for every transaction. That makes tracking much harder because even if one address gets dusted, it's isolated from your others. Privacy tools like CoinJoin mix your transactions with other users, obscuring the trail. And some wallets integrate with privacy networks like Tor by default.
Is there a trade-off there? Does using all these privacy features make things more complicated or less trustless?
Sometimes. CoinJoin transactions take longer and can have higher fees. Using a new address every time requires better wallet management. You need to keep track of multiple addresses. But for people who hold significant amounts or value their privacy, those trade-offs are usually worth it.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Are governments and law enforcement doing this too?
Almost certainly. If you're trying to track illicit activity, money laundering, or tax evasion, dusting is a useful tool. Government agencies and blockchain analytics firms absolutely use these techniques, though they typically won't confirm it publicly since the methods are often proprietary. The transparency that makes blockchain revolutionary also makes it an incredibly powerful surveillance tool.
Which is kind of the paradox of public blockchains, right? Maximum transparency, minimal privacy.
It's a feature and the bug. For legitimate financial surveillance, catching criminals, preventing fraud, it's incredibly useful. But it also means ordinary users need to actively protect their privacy in ways they might not expect.
So where does something like Internet Computer fit into this picture? Does it have the same vulnerabilities?
ICP's architecture is fundamentally different because it doesn't use traditional transaction models like UTXO or even standard account-based systems. Instead, it uses canisters, essentially smart contracts that can hold their own state. That creates different privacy characteristics.
Different how?
Well, the reverse gas model is one piece. On most chains, users pay gas fees, which creates an easy tracking vector. On ICP, canisters can pay for their own computation, which breaks that pattern. But the bigger difference is how identity and authentication work. ICP has internet identity, which is a form of authentication that doesn't require you to hold tokens in a traditional wallet address.
So there's no address to dust in the first place?
Not in the same way. If you're interacting with a dApp through internet identity, you're not broadcasting transactions from a wallet address that can be tracked across the chain. Your identity is cryptographically derived, but not tied to a single trackable account in the traditional sense.
Does that actually solve the privacy problem, or does it just shift it somewhere else?
It shifts it. You still have transparency. All transactions on ICP are visible on-chain, but the connection between an ICP identity and your real-world identity is harder to establish unless you voluntarily link them, say through a KYC process. And because canisters can control their own access patterns, developers have more flexibility in how they handle user privacy.
What about the trade-off there? Does that extra privacy layer make things more centralized or less trustless?
That's the right question to ask. The chain key cryptography that powers internet identity is incredibly sophisticated, but it does require trusting the subnet architecture. ICP subnets are run by node providers who stake ICP tokens and are randomly assigned to subnets through the process controlled by the network nervous system. It's decentralized, but it's a different trust model than Bitcoin's pure proof of work.
So even on a chain that's built with better privacy primitives, you're still making trade-offs.
Always. There's no perfect solution. Bitcoin maximizes decentralization, but sacrifices privacy and programmability. Ethereum adds programmability, but with similar privacy challenges. ICP takes a different approach that can offer better privacy characteristics in some contexts, but you're accepting a different consensus model.
What should our listeners actually take away from all this? Because I imagine most people aren't actively thinking about dusting attacks day to day.
If you hold more than a trivial amount of crypto, you should care about wallet hygiene. That means using wallets with privacy features, not reusing addresses, being suspicious of unexpected deposits, and understanding that every transaction you make is public and potentially traceable. The blockchain remembers everything.
And if you do notice dust?
Don't touch it. Use coin control features to isolate it, or better yet, consider moving your real funds to a fresh wallet and abandoning the dusted one. The cost of creating a new wallet is zero. The cost of compromised privacy could be significant.
Looking ahead, do you think this gets better or worse? Are we heading towards more privacy or less?
That's the trillion-dollar question. We're seeing development on both sides. Better blockchain analytics tools that make tracking easier, but also better privacy protocols like zero-knowledge proofs that make tracking harder. My guess is we end up with a bifurcated ecosystem. Public chains for transparency and auditability, privacy-focused chains or layers for users who need anonymity, and then systems like ICP that try to thread the needle with programmable privacy.
Which means users will need to actually understand these trade-offs and choose tools that match their needs.
Exactly. The one chain to rule them all narrative is dead. Different chains will serve different purposes, and understanding which tool to use for which job becomes critical.
Before we wrap, I want to hit on one more thing. For someone listening who's never thought about this before, what's the one concrete action they should take today?
Check your wallet settings. Most modern wallets have some form of privacy or security feature that's probably turned off by default. Enable coin control if it's available. Turn on transaction monitoring alerts. If your wallet generates a new address for every transaction, make sure that's enabled. These are simple switches that dramatically improve your privacy posture.
And if your wallet doesn't have those features?
Get a better wallet, seriously. Not all wallets are created equal, and if privacy matters to you, use tools built by teams who take it seriously. Hardware wallets generally have better features than hot wallets. HD wallets are better than static address wallets. Do your research.
All right, so bottom line, those tiny weird deposits in your wallet aren't random. They might be someone trying to map your financial life. Don't spend them, use privacy tools, and remember that blockchain transparency is a double-edged sword.
And maybe think twice before posting your wallet address on social media.
Yes, probably good advice. That's it for today's episode of Infinite State. Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time.